goes by Lauren Miller, and she is the daughter of Jack and Ann, and we're just so happy that Jack and Ann are here, and we're so glad that Lauren is here, and so many of you have connections with her because, come on in, because of course Jack and Ann, but anyone who was at Harding Academy will remember her as a student. And I was telling them, I was actually at a birthday table last month with Phil Slate and his son and daughter-in-law and Michael Seymour and Bill Shrigley, and Lauren's name came up at that table, and they had no idea that she was coming. I wish I would have been a part of whatever it was you guys were in.
I am the third child.
Yeah, well, and anyone that gets into hoots with some kind of Bill Shrigley's events were having a good time. So, okay. Lauren, our author of this beautiful children's book, Blue Spruce, the Christmas Spruce.
Okay, can y'all hear me okay? All right, my goodness, I'm overwhelmed at the crowd, and I appreciate being asked here so very much. This whole story of this story is really was very unexpected in my life, and I've always written, but I've never really put it out there in the world, and really never had a plan to do that. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. But I just want to say again, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for coming to listen, and thank you for enjoying the book. It's so incredibly gratifying when something you've worked hard on is appreciated and loved, and so I really I'm just so gratified by your presence and also your love of the book. So Blue Spruce, the Christmas Spruce, was an idea that I had for probably about 25 years. And I never did anything with it. And, you know, I worked and I got married, and finally, 11 years into our marriage, we finally had a wonderful, beautiful son who's now 17. And so I was just allowing myself to be busy with other things, and sometimes life required me to be busy with other things, but words and writing have always been a part of my life. I remember as a very young child writing little poems and writing song lyrics and not really knowing what to do next with them, so they just sort of piled up in a spiral notebook. So fast forward to 3 or so years ago, my son, Miller, who is now 17 years old, is a very accomplished writer, and from a young age as well. And he got connected with a best-selling author who was coaching mostly adults. It was really intended to be an adult program, but Miller found out about it and logged on, and there he was. And so he learned that there was a retreat that this author hosted at his ranch in near Zion Park in Utah. And Miller, at the tender age of 13, thought that sounded fabulous. And so, unbeknownst to me, he wrote to the author's assistant and said, "I'm so interested in coming to this program in the summer." And he talked a little bit about his writing and what he wanted to do, and then he ended it with something like a "P.S. I'm only 13, so you may not let me come." And she was enamored with that, so I get a call from her, and she says, "We'd love to have him. We would love for him to come, but he has to bring a parent with him." Darn the luck, I had to go to Utah in the summer. It was beautiful, and we met amazing people there. And he was able to get great feedback on the book he was working on, and encouraged me the second year to do something myself, at which I said, "No, I'm really not interested in doing that." And he just said, come on, you always encourage me, you always tell me, you've got to put yourself out there. And he said, it's time for you to put yourself out there. And I thought, these children, they are so demanding. And so I really thought about it, and I had to do some soul searching, and I realized, he was right. If I was gonna talk the talk, I needed to walk the walk. And so I thought, well, maybe Blue Bruce can come to life after all. Maybe it's gonna happen. And I have to say, once I sat down to do the actual writing, it really came very quickly. And I've always said in any presentation I've given is that it really was a gift. I can't claim complete, responsibility for it, because once I sat down and committed to writing, I already had the story arc. I knew what I wanted the story to be about and how I wanted it to end. But I just never sat down to do it. Rhyming is something that comes very naturally for me, so I did not anticipate it coming out as a rhyming book, but here it is, and it works this way, and it came out better than I really could have imagined, honestly. And so I wrote it, and I read it to Miller, and he said, you gotta read it at the retreat this summer. So I got permission to read, and I did, and I got such lovely feedback from already published authors. And that's really what started this whole process, is that nudge from my son. And so one of the authors there said, it's finished, like you don't need any more editing, it's done, you're ready to go. You just need to find an illustrator. And I thought, I know a lot of artists. We are fortunate, my husband and I know so many incredibly talented people, and I had somebody in mind, and honestly, I thought, she's so busy, she's a safe bet, because I bet she'll have to say no. And then I'll be done, and it'll be all over with. And so it's Maggie Russell, who's a young woman who my husband and I have known since she was in 8th grade. We were her youth advisors at Germantown Presbyterian Church, where we have friends who have known us there for a long time and nurtured us and prayed for us and really prayed my son into the world. And so I sent her the email, and she said, gosh, I'm really busy right now. Let me take some time and think about it. I've never illustrated a book before, so let me think about it, and I'll get back to you. So a week passed, and I thought, okay, she's gonna say no. And then 2 weeks passed, and then I got a text from her, and she said, okay, can you call me? I'd like to talk to you. And I thought, oh, she would have just emailed me a yes if she was gonna say yes. And so I was pretty darn sure she was gonna say no, but golly, she said yes. And I thought, oh my gosh, we're doing it. So she really brought to life in pictures the absolute intent and images that I had in my mind for this book. And she, as you know, is a very, very talented artist. She is a portrait artist, so most of her work is commissions at portraiture. And she just took this and ran with it, and I could not have asked for it to be any more beautiful or poignant or interesting than it is. It's really, I think the art could stand on its own, even without the story. So it all just worked out so beautifully, and it was a big learning curve, I have to say. For my mid-50s self, I had to learn a lot about how to use Canva and formatting and graphic design and a lot of different things. Just the whole publishing process was really a huge learning curve for me. And so, but I did it just bit by bit, and I had practically an entire spiral notebook of to do. Learn how to, have 2 or 3 pages of how do you use a Square Reader, how do you register for book fairs, and it really just, it really worked so beautifully, and I didn't have really any particular expectations for how many I would sell. I mean, when we got the first draft of the book, the first printing of the book, just to, the author copy, I told Maggie, I said, this may be it. Like, we might not sell any books, and that's okay. We did it, we put it out in the world, and we're just gonna give it a go. So then I started emailing bookstores around and book festivals, and just to see if I could get accepted for a signing. That's all I was looking for, just a signing. And lo and behold, Novel Bookstore here in Memphis got back to me and said, we'd love to offer you a launch for your book. And I was just stunned. You know, I was really just, I couldn't believe it. And so we had the launch on November 4th of 2023, and I don't know if y'all were there were over 100 people that came, which was just phenomenal. And they had purchased in advance 100 copies. And you know, they're always very nice to independent authors, so I self-published. And they were like, I mean, we probably won't sell 100 copies. And I was like, no, it's fine. If you sell one, that's great. It's okay, fine. And they sold out of those 100, and then came back and said, did you bring any more? My husband, wise soul that he is, had put 2 more boxes of books in the car, and we sold all of those. I sold out completely that day. And so it was just really overwhelming and wonderful and just unbelievable all at the same time. It was fun to see all the people that were invested in our success and just invested in us in general. And it was people from, you know, all aspects of our lives, both Maggie's and my lives. And kind of, I feel a little bit the same way today. There are so many familiar faces in this crowd, and people who have known me as a little girl and as a teenager and as a grown-up. And so I'm really, I still look back on the whole process and I think, oh my goodness, I can't believe this actually happened. But we had so much fun doing the first one. We are going to write it. We're actually in the process of getting another one out in the world. So she's wrapping up the illustrations on that one. Also a rhyming children's story for Christmas. And it was a story I actually wrote for my nephew, who's now in his 30s, but I wrote it for him when he was 4. And I got it back out and I completely rewrote it, and it's a better story now. It's the same story, but it's just a lot more refined. So hopefully that one will be coming out in about a year. But the idea for the story of Blue Bruce was really just kind of in my, you know, over our lives we learn a lot of lessons, and some lessons we have to learn over and over. I think one lesson for me and for many children that I have known, specifically teenagers, is that life takes its own pace for all of us individually. And my background, as far as my career is concerned, I was a counselor in schools. I worked in colleges, but also high schools and college admission counseling. So I worked with students, basically 8th grade through 12th grade, helping them through the search and selection process. And that is a process fraught with growth. And sometimes, we're in it right now in my own house, and sometimes it's pretty messy, and sometimes it's not, and it's real individual for each student going through it. And so just my own life experience really informed the trajectory of this story. And what I think I really wanted children and adults too to know is that it's not always going to go the way we want. And that really is okay. It's very difficult in the moment to be accepting of that, but all in all, things work out for the good. And it may be a hard lesson in the moment, but we also have agency in how we navigate those difficulties. And so Bruce was I chose a tree because it's, you know, it's universal. You know, it's not any particular person or any one life story. It's, you know, it's relatable to anyone, whoever you are, from whatever background you may come from. And I really, you know, kind of thought about, you know, as a mom, what are the things that we want our children to know? We want them to know that you can overcome hard things. You can do hard things, and you can overcome hard things. Resilience is a gift, even though it's not fun to get it. That, you know, sometimes our best laid plans are not the best option for us. What we think is great isn't always what's going to be the best thing for us. And so that's how the story came to be. And I'm just so glad it's in the world, and it seems to be having a positive impact on people. I don't know if you have questions for me about the book or the process, or Maggie. She's phenomenal. She couldn't be here today because, like I said, she's a portrait artist and she's very busy right before Christmas. So, yes?
I'm interested in your collaborative process with Maggie. When you initially approached her, how much of the story did you share with her to help her make her decision? And then once she began illustrating, what was the interplay like between you and she to come up with the finished product?
So that was one of the biggest learning processes for me. To start from the beginning of your questions, when I asked her, I sent her the whole text. I sent her everything because I wanted her to have an idea of what the story was, to see if she, you know, if there was anything that inspired her to move forward with it. So she had the entire text before she made the decision. Then we got together and I kind of showed her, she asked me to bring some of our favorite books from when my son was little. And so I brought 5 or 6. We were big readers in our family. We would spend, that was one of Miller's first signs, was like, more book, more book. We would spend days reading books. And so I brought 4 or 5 books, the stories that we really appreciated, but also the illustrations. And I kind of tried to say, like, I'm not an artist, and so I tried to give her an idea of what was in my head. And I just showed her, like, it's kind of a combination of this one, but it's sort of like this over here, but I like the muted colors. And so she took that and she just made tons of notes. And she sent me via email several different options of styles that she could go with. And so then we narrowed it down to a couple. And then we met again and we looked through the imagery, just the, you know, what we thought came to mind for each of the quadruplets in the story. And then we settled on this style. And we met about, I'd say about every 3 weeks or so, just to look at the designs and see how, you know, she just taught me so much about how the pages have to flow, not just the story, but the pages, the pictures have to flow from one page to another, and how that, you know, you really have to consider what images you choose for each particular layout, each spread, so that it flows really seamlessly into the next spread. So it was very hands-on. Did that get your question?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Did you have a question?
Yes. I'm really jealous of you.
Oh.
I've read a lot of books, but when I finished that, I thought, I wish I had done this, because it's so simple, yet it deals with some of the major problems in our lives growing up. And I thought the illustrations were beautiful, and I just loved the book.
Thank you so much. It's not too late. You can do it.
I'm taught, but 30 years, little children.
Oh.
And I love children, and I thought, this is just so great for little children. Why didn't I write this?
Like I said, it's not too late. You can do it. You can do it. Yes, ma'am.
Given your success and you're starting another book or in the process, have you thought about getting a publisher?
I thought about that from the beginning. That's really that was Miller's idea of what I should do. But I am not as young as Miller. I don't have as much time to kind of wait around as Miller. So I did look into that. I really researched children's book publishers. This is not really what a lot of publishers are interested in. They're really kind of a lot going for more simplified stories, not rhyming. There's almost no publisher out there that wants a rhyming book, which was really deflating to me, but that's okay. Things work out, kind of like the book, the way they're supposed to for me. But also, just as far as the illustrations are concerned, most of what, based on the research that I was able to do, most are looking for less refined art. Things that they think are more relatable to children. Brighter colors, more simple figures, that kind of thing. And but in my own experience, what I found with my son is that he loved the really intricate art designs from books. He loved, one of our favorite books is a book called Owl Moon, and it's about a father who takes his little daughter out in the late night, in the snowy night, and they go out into the woods, and it's really stark illustrations. It's beautiful. It's just kind of grays and deep blues and snow's blanketing the ground, and trees are really sketchy kind of trees looking. And he takes his daughter out, and they have a big flashlight, and he starts calling for owls. He starts woo woo woo, and eventually he hears an owl call back, and they walk in that direction. He shines the light up, and they see the owl right as it takes off, and that's the climax of the story. And so my son loved that, and we have found the same with people who love this book, is that they were so glad it was not there's nothing wrong with cartoon illustrations, but this story did not lend itself to cartoon illustrations. So a long answer to your question is yes, I considered that, and I determined that I did not have time or patience for that process. It's a pretty brutal process. You send in your material, and 99 times out of 100, it's not what we're interested in. And so I kind of didn't quite have the skin for that at this stage. It was a really hard thing for me just to put it out there. So maybe someday somebody will pick it up. We'll see. I wouldn't say no.
Is Miller still writing?
Miller is still writing. He took a bit of a break because he's a senior in high school. So what he's writing right now are college essays, and a lot of them. So, but he started a book when he was about 12 years old. He started writing this novel, and I would say it's kind of dystopian. I mean, it's a teenage boy book. It's a dystopian science fiction kind of book, And he completed that book when he was just turning 16, and so it's 120,000 words. He developed a language for the people that are in the book. He developed an entire culture, 3 different cultures that are at war with each other. He developed, governmental systems. It was really this very interesting, multi-layered thing for him. So he's, at this point, not decided to do anything with it, but I hope so.
How did your mom and dad encourage and nurture your talent?
Oh, that's such a good question, right with them here. So I'm the third of 3 girls. I have 2 older sisters. We all are similar and also very different. And I think a lot of, how they encouraged all of us was, just to keep doing it. That was a big thing. It's just, keep doing it. And we all, have a sister who is, she kind of dabbled in art, and also she's an amazing chef. And so, we just all kind of did our own thing within the context of our family, some of which was pretty similar. But there was, my dad did not fall out when I came to him and said, I'd like to major in music when I go to college, which I did. And they were very open to that. So whatever path, as long as it was a healthy path that we were on, they were encouraging of that. And so I have joked that, we got progressively worse. My oldest sister was an English major with a minor in Japanese art. My middle sister was an art major, and then I was a music major, and I'm pretty sure my dad was like, she is gonna live with us the rest of her life. But I didn't, I was gainfully employed upon graduation. But I think really the biggest way was just instilling a sense of values. I think that regardless of what a child's talent is, if they are led by values and belief, in our home, we grew up in a Christian home, and so our development was in the context of those values and those beliefs. And so within that, we learned that we all have our own gifts, and those are very different from one to one. I think it also helped that, my parents were really hard workers. And so it was, I don't want to say expected, but it was, the example was there of hard work. Like, things don't just come to you just because you wish them to be. They come to you because you work hard at it. And you might have a gift, but a gift doesn't give you, permission to do whatever. You have to work at it, and you have to pursue that within the context of morals and values. And so I think that, I think my sisters would answer similarly, even though our gifts are different. So I think just really loving us and nurturing us. And, I really, I wrote a poem one time that I'm trying to remember right now, but it was really about how, so I was born in 1968. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and certainly we've seen a lot of change in women's rights and opportunities in the workforce. But this poem was really about how, even during that time, you kind of see the fairy tales, the Disney fairy tales. It's like the princess gets a prince, and my parents did not bring us up to believe we needed a prince to make our lives work and be worthy. And I wish I could remember that poem right now, because I wrote it, and it said something about something to the effect of my dad instilled in us a sense that, he raised us, both my parents raised us to be independent in a dependent-seeking world. And so I think that's probably the best I can sum that up without having the poem in front of me. I think I kind of butchered that, but anyway.
Yeah, I would love to know Miller's reaction to the final product, since it was really the inspiration and encouragement to get it out there. Like, did y'all have a special moment where the book is here in print and now you can read it together?
Yeah, he read it on his own. He's not going to read it together with me, but because he was, 15. But yeah, I mean, when the book comes, I have to say that's super exciting, because you're unboxing this book that you're like, this is so much hard work. It's like having a baby that comes in a box, and it's amazing, and hard in different ways. But yeah, it was just, I cried when I opened it, and it was just like, I can remember I smelled it. I was like, it smells like a book. But he was really so proud of me. I mean, I stopped working before Miller was born, really, so I could have Miller. So, it was a long, difficult journey to get Miller into the world, and he is our only child, and we're so blessed and fortunate to have him. And so I stopped working. I didn't anticipate that. I mean, if you'd asked me 10 years before that, I'd be like, no, I'm probably gonna keep working. I have a great job, I love my job, it's great. But when he was, I really had to stop work in order to kind of go through all the process of getting him into the world. And so when he came, I was already tired at the age of 40. And I stayed home, and I've never regretted that. I've loved it. It's been hard in interesting ways, and we have a great relationship. He's an incredible human being, really not because of me and Chuck, my husband. He's just developed this into this really interesting human, and he's a good human, which is super gratifying. So he had seen me always only at home, really. I mean, he'd seen me teach Sunday school sometimes, but, he'd never seen me really in a professional capacity or in any kind of capacity beyond mothering. And so I think it was really a little bit of an adjustment for him in some ways. But also he was just so proud of me. I remember a moment at the launch at Novel. I had a dear friend who helped me set everything up and helped with the food and all that kind of thing. And it was so busy. It was just such a whirlwind activity, and it was super exciting. And I was given a little talk, and his 4th grade teacher walked into the room right after I had started, and he looked up at her, who we love, Miss Pieper. If anybody knows Miss Pieper, she's the most fabulous, lovely person in the world, and we will cherish her forever. But she walked in just a tiny bit late, and Miller was kind of standing off in the corner, and I was in the front of the room, and I just saw her walk in, and I was so excited to see her. And then I saw Miller look at her, and he goes, and it's like, that is the seal of approval. So he was really proud of me, and I think he really also knows that he was the impetus for this whole thing happening. So I hope he knows that. Yeah. Yes.
We've read the book, but I think we would enjoy hearing you read it to us.
Oh, mercy.
Yes.
Do we have time?
Yes, absolutely. I was getting ready to ask you.
Okay, I will do it. I will do it. I have to put my glasses on to read it. I should have brought my. Hang on. I should have brought my computer. Sometimes I will cast a digital version up on the screen. But I will read it to you. This is Blue Bruce, The Christmas Spruce by B, and illustrated by the fabulous, incredible Maggie Russell.
You can put your mic in the stand
Yes.
if that'll make it easier.
Thank you.
Or if it would be even better if you want to get up on the podium behind that.
You can unscrew it and raise it.
No, I'm not.
Unscrew it and raise
Down
it.
here? Okay, you can't see if I'm up there. Okay, I'm gonna stay here and raise this up. This is like my old music days. All right, how's that? Can you hear me? I will not hold up pictures because you won't be able to see that. All right, Blue Bruce, the Christmas Spruce. Once upon a forest green lived the smallest tree you've ever seen. Surrounded by a strong mountain spruce, he earned the nickname Blue Bruce. His needles were a little pale. His trunk was skinny as a rail. All his branches were sparse and spindly, but his heart was good and his spirit friendly. His neighbor saplings stretched with ease and soon would look like full-grown trees. But Bruce was small and grew so slow. Would he ever catch up? He didn't know. Whether cold and rainy or dry and hot, the seasons changed, but Bruce did not. Winter to spring, summer to fall, the other trees became quite tall. Each year, as autumn days got short, Bruce waited patiently for the report. A man would walk the forest glade, inspecting trees and giving a grade. Premium, the man would shout, leaving no room for any doubt as to which trees would make the list, which poor Blue Bruce always missed. Although he feared his fate was set, Blue Bruce hoped he wasn't finished yet. Soon, many families would visit here, so full of joy and Christmas cheer. Each one would surge and look around until the perfect tree was found. Bruce loved to hear the children play and dreamed of being tall one day. He wanted to be a chosen tree, taken home and loved by a family, to be adorned with Christmas lights and shine so brightly through the nights. Bruce wanted to be a special tree, not plain and thin and scraggly. He really tried to be a good sport, but he found it hard to be that short. Some days, it really made him sad. Some days, it really made him mad. But there was nothing he could do to change how fast or slow he grew. Bruce thought about his life ahead and realized that he should not dread. He had a lot to be grateful for. Blue Bruce had friends and so much more. Rooted in this new belief, Bruce began to feel relief. So he decided to be aware of all the ways he could show care. By choosing joy and gratitude, he spread a message of hope renewed. I will show this page. It's one of my favorite pages with the roots that you can see down at the bottom. I love that page. You don't always know what's happening under the surface. And what a difference this choice made for all his friends in the forest glade. Birds and foxes, squirrels and deer, each one knew they were welcome here. The years went by, the forest thinned, under summer sun through winter wind. Blue Bruce had seen so much change all around the mountain range. The hillside looked quite different now, without trees standing bough to bough, no more inspectors shouting with glee, no more families coming to see. With only a few trees spaced apart, the forest floor had a brand new start. Now, there was an open space, a different kind of beautiful place. A blanket of grass covered the ground, and wildflowers bloomed all around. Then, one sunny summer day, a little family came to stay. They built a home right next to Bruce, now a tall and stately spruce. The family had a little child who loved to wander in the wild. He often read or ran and played in the safety of Bruce's shade. The boy climbed from limb to limb, swinging up and down again. Blue Bruce had never felt such joy as having a friend like this little boy. Summer's haze turned to autumn's glow. Soon winter's cold would bring deep snow. This was the season that Bruce liked best, though what was to happen, he couldn't have guessed. A big surprise he would get that year. The big surprise he would get that year was full of love and Christmas cheer. One day, the family came along singing a merry holiday song. They carried a box of colorful lights, strings of red cranberry, and popcorn so white. Gently, the boy strung the lights all around, carefully placing them as they unwound. Then came the strings of white and red from Bruce's trunk to the top of his head. When the boy had finished his joyous task, "What do you think? Do you like it?" he asked. His parents applauded the job he had done, and off they all went for more holiday fun. Bruce looked amazed. Could this be real? He never imagined how good it would feel to be chosen and special, to finally be Blue Bruce, the forever Christmas tree. Thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And thank you for loving the book. And yeah, happy all the holidays that are upcoming.
Thank you so much. You have an opportunity to purchase, and I'm sure she'll be glad to personalize any autograph if you want it to a special great grandchild or whatever. But did you have a question?
I just want to say, she grew up in a family that had so many gifts of creativity, for Ann is an artist.
Yes.
And encouraged all of this. She sings beautifully, and my husband husband and I used to go to she and her husband both sang, and we used to go to all of their concerts. Magnificent voices. So Lauren had sent us a Christmas card one year. This last Christmas, on the card, she says, "I've just published a book." And I thought, how exciting this is. And I showed it to Janice, and Janice jumped on it, just like that. But to see somebody grow up through all of these years and come to this is just
Former Sunday school teacher right here.
I mean, so many. The Sanderson Burke and I were dear friends, and the Duns. I mean, I couldn't even name everybody that's been a part of my life at different ages and stages. And really, isn't that what it's all about? Like, just, appreciating and being grateful for the things we get that we don't deserve. We really just
And
don't
I
deserve.
appreciate you sharing such personal things about your parents, and kudos to your dad for raising you not to feel like you had to have a princess.
Right.
Yes, that's a great thing. Anyone else comments? You're among other authors. Stephanie has written a children's book, and we had her and her story one time, and then she had written about a niece, and her niece actually came and didn't even live here, but came and met us all. So that's great. And there are other authors in here that appreciates your journey. But take time to speak to her, purchase as many. She's got more books than this.
Yes.
Purchase as many as you need, and let her sign it personally for a great-grandchild or for anyone. But as always, I appreciate your support. With whatever book we do, you always come through and come and support the authors and the speakers. So thank you so much.